Everyone, Pastor George here for today's Bible study recap. And for today, we looked at Job chapter 21. And in Job chapter 21, we have Job's response that ends the second cycle of Job's batting order of friends. And from this point forward, they actually talk less. Job talks a little bit more until we get more to a climactic session. But anyway, here we have Job's response. And remember, the whole kind of focus of these last few chapters has been Job's friends talking about the wicked man, right? And many of them insisting that the wicked do not prosper, right? Because God will strike them down, he'll bring calamity upon them, and things like that. Something to note about this is actually this is one of the few chapters where Job doesn't appeal to God. He pretty much spends this whole time talking to his friends, and he's talking to all of them, even when he's saying you. Outside of one instance early on, he's speaking to all of them in the plural. So it's not just he's not just responding to Zophar, but he's responding to all of them. So one of the interesting things here, though, the reason that Job might be complicated for a lot of people is that when we look at it, obviously, especially the way we're doing it, when you go week by week by week, usually it's kind of harder to tell what Job is responding to. But here in this chapter, you can actually look that he actually quotes some of his friends. He uses a lot of the same language they did to rebut what they were saying, because Job's whole point this week is to simply say the wicked do prosper, right? The wicked do not just get punished by God, right? And I think this is like, you can see this sometimes in American media or culture, although we usually have something like at the end which shows that they go down. But think of like Wall Street, right? The movie Wall Street, where you have people like Gordon Gekko who basically are the people that we would think of as wicked, right? These people that just abuse the system and abuse power in order to gain money and prestige and all these other types of things, right? By breaking the rules. And then, of course, the end of the movie, everything falls apart. Sorry if you haven't seen, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen a movie that's like 58 years old or whatever. But we have that, but like that's like a stereotypical thing, and a lot of people are able to get away with it over the course of their whole life, right? And sometimes, able to just to not have everything fall apart in the way that people would like to think. And so Job brings this up. He says, no, this is not true. The wicked do prosper. And basically this is his whole point. And here there's actually there's like 5 instances of Job literally quoting his friends. So just one of those examples is in 21 verse 8, when it says, their offspring are established in their presence and their descendants before their eyes, right? Job is talking about how that happens for the wicked. And that's a direct reference to what his friend Bildad says back in chapter 18, verse 19, when he says this: the wicked man has no posterity or progeny among his people, and no survivor where he used to live. So just there, right, you see that Job is quoting this and showing that, hey, these things that we use as tells as to whether or not someone is wicked or not wicked aren't always helpful, because an outward appearance is not an indication of the inward spiritual life of someone, right? And I mean, I think that we can all realize this pretty easily. I think that if you want to look at any one of those mainstream, like really unfortunate stories where some pastor ends up doing something that is wrong, right? And then everyone thinks they're great, and then that happens, and it's revealed that maybe they were saying things on the outside but living a totally different life on the inside, right? That's a really good example of that. And I think that as Christians, we need to realize that hypocrisy. We need to realize our own hypocrisy, right? And that oftentimes that we prize the outside without looking at the heart. And we do that for ourselves as well, right? We say, well, if we go to church, if we tick all these boxes, then that means we're living a faithful life. But if we are outside of those things, not being very faithful and not trying to be sanctified through the Holy Spirit, then what type of life are we really living, right? Are we living a Christian life? Well, no, right? And that's all of us. That falls on me too. And so this is just a good reminder that, yes, the wicked are punished, right? God is just, but it might not happen in the way that we think through this lifetime, but God will ultimately meet that out, and he will meet it out on everyone. And that's why it's important that we have the gospel, right? Because the gospel steps in and reminds us that we are not going to be judged, right? Jesus has taken that judgment for us. So Anyway, that's what we talked about today in Job chapter 21. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow for our mailbag. It's a spicy one, so I'll see you then.